Hello folks, welcome to another episode of Tweeter's Tech. Another video for the Odin 2 portal. This is around Steam and PC games. I've done a previous video in relation to Gamehub Lite. Today we're going to be looking at the alternative, which is Gamenative. I've been hearing a lot of good things. I've seen a few videos that people are saying they prefer Gamenative to Gamehub Lite. At this time, I'm still using the Odin 2, which is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 device. So obviously there are more powerful devices out there, but this is the money. This is where my money went. This is the device I've committed to, and I'm trying to see, what is the most I can get out of these devices. I'm always pushing and trying things out. I'm going to be doing a video quite soon on the native Xbox app called X1 Box, and I'll do another video of that shortly. So I'm constantly trying to see what this device can do, and PC games is something I'm always really quite excited about. I wouldn't class myself as a PC gamer, but I do have some indie games. I've got some old AAA titles, and you saw in my previous video I did a video around some of these games. A lot of these games aren't that demanding. These are indie titles and some are really old. Circuit Superstars, I got that from Game Pass originally. I fell in love with it. Who doesn't love the Tomb Raider games? And these all work, with minor glitches, as well as Sleeping Dogs. These zombie games, Left 4 Dead, work perfectly fine. Hades is something I downloaded recently and it looks beautiful. I've also added one of my own Windows games, Need for Speed Most Wanted, the 2005 edition. Works flawlessly on here, really. And I guess I wanted to compare it to what we have on Gamenative. So this is kind of new to me. I've only just downloaded it this week. You can see I've got the same games downloaded on here. Some games did actually work noticeably better. I can't for some reason add Need for Speed. I've got it as a separate folder. I get the impression it works better on internal storage, but it does give you the option to export on the SD card. But I've kept everything on the internal storage. I moved that file, and for some reason it's not working, but it could be something I'm doing wrong. I figured it might be a good opportunity to sort of compare the gameplay. Just to give you an idea, this interface, this app, I have not done any tweaking whatsoever. I've installed the games and I've played it, as it comes. Whereas on Gamehub, I've had to do some tweaking, as you saw in my previous video. And I think, the idea of Gamenative does appeal to me. Literally turn it on, download the game as you want, and crack on. It is pretty straightforward. You can play around the settings here. I like how you can kind of choose the way it looks. You've got the list form here. What else do we have? Capsule. Some people may prefer that. What else do we have? Hero. I'm not really feeling that one. And I personally prefer the carousel mode. Yeah, but everyone's got their own preference. You can access the menu here, play around with a few more settings, downloads. What else do we have? There's a lot of stuff here in terms of drivers and graphics settings. I don't fully understand. Good thing is I've not had to dabble with it that much. But it is pretty straightforward in terms of adding games. These are the services here that you can log into. I don't have an Epic account. I do have a Steam account, and obviously that's what I'm using. It's good that it gives you the option to add Windows games as well. But it was a pretty straightforward process. You just log in via the Steam app and use the QR code, and you had access to all your games. And you downloaded what you wanted, and then once you've downloaded what you actually want, you can untick that, and that will show, I believe, all the games that you own. So I've got some VR titles, some light rail games I just don't even play. So once I've downloaded what I want, I'll click on installed, and that will minimize what I'm actually playing. So I figured the first thing to do really is let's try some of the more demanding games on Gamehub Lite. Sleeping Dogs is one that in my last video you could see some slight performance issues. I'll just load that up. Just a heads up, on both these demos I'm going to be using performance mode, not high performance mode. Keep my fan on smart. all my displays are going to be locked in at 720. Let's see what happens. You might see there is a slight judder. You know, it's just about playable, but you know, it is noticeable, isn't it? So let's try the Gamenative version. Now, I didn't put it in this video, but I noticed that loading up time was significantly quicker as well, almost half the time it took on the other app. But let's check out the gameplay footage. This is also another example of the Steam game saves coinciding with each other. As you can see, it's the exact same level. It's already noticeably smoother, and like I said, I haven't played with any settings, whereas I did on the other app. I did download the latest files, the latest drivers, etc. But yeah, this, I mean, if you can probably tell from the video that this is noticeably smoother, I can tell straight away. I'm not noticing any delay. Seems to be all good. I think just to highlight, you know, at the moment I've got both apps installed and I'm using up a lot of storage. One thing I have noticed, some games, the cloud saves haven't loaded up, like Circuit Superstars. I did about 3 tournaments on that one and it didn't seem to sync up. Same for Hypercharge Unboxed. Everything else seems to have synced up, which is good, but I'm not sure why it hasn't loaded up on 2 of these. So it could be an issue on my side, I'm not sure, but I have heard of people reporting this being an issue. With regards to the Tomb Raider games, Tomb Raider and the Rise of Tomb Raider works really well on this, on Gamenative, but Rise of Tomb Raider, for some reason, I couldn't load up. It did say it was compatible, so it confused me as to why it wasn't working. But we'll go over and we'll try the Gamehub version first. Okay, here we are, Gamehub version. It's when you look up in the sky. I'm not sure what the word is to describe it, but you can see there's some inconsistencies there. This game is still completely playable, but the graphical issues there, that might irritate you, and that might require, you know, some tinkering. Oh, wasn't expecting you. I'm dead already. I just wanted to kind of show you what it looks like, but it's not perfect. This is still the Gamehub version. I'm not going to go near those wolves again because it's really hard to play when you're filming yourself. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But yeah, playable, but not perfect. Hopefully that can reflect on what you're seeing so far. Let's try the Gamenative version, shall we? Loading time was only a little bit quicker, not as noticeable as the previous game, but still quicker, so that's a plus. Let's see if it loads up the same. Looks like it has loaded up my saved game, which is good. That's what we like to see. Let's look up at the sky. So we don't see those graphical glitches that we were seeing previously. I feel that this is noticeably clearer. And once again, I haven't tinkered with anything here. We'll stay away from those wolves, just so we can see Lara for a little bit. Still looking good, Lara. Okay. So I wonder if you can see the difference. For me, I notice it. You know, I can feel the frame rate a little bit better. It does feel smoother. It's not perfect, but it's definitely good enough. Like I said, this is 720. I think it's locked in at 60 Hertz at the moment. Doesn't give the option for a higher frame rate on this device, but I'm happy with that. So I'm going to say, with my final thoughts, I personally am going to keep both apps installed. I'm not going to have all the games on both the apps. I think there are some games that still work better on Gamehub Lite, like that Need for Speed title I was telling you about, the second Tomb Raider game. For some reason I can't seem to get it working on Gamenative, so maybe I'll just have those two games installed on Gamehub Lite and everything else on Gamenative. Predominantly most of my games do work better on Gamenative, so I think for now, until I've had more time tweaking and messing around, yeah, ideally I would just like one app, but I think I've got enough internal storage that I can utilize both apps, but just have the games that work better on each app in that particular app. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the performance on Gamenative. It does seem a more user-friendly app. I think it's definitely worth downloading and installing. You'll be able to Google it and find it on the GitHub page, and it's just easier to pick up and play. Less configuring, less tweaking needed. But it's still worth having both apps, because you might see the development increasing a little bit quicker with Gamehub. Since Gamenative has stepped up, they may feel like they need to step up their game a little bit more. Both apps are worth having if you've got the space. But I'll continue to do some more videos as this progresses. But thanks for tuning in to this episode of Tweefers Tech. I did mention the next video I'm going to be doing is focusing on native Xbox games via the X1 Xbox app, so stay tuned for that one. Cheers.